Okay, Murph1911 back with another gun review. This time it's going to be of a very unique pistol, the Whitney Wolverine. Little history on it, it was only made for I think 2 years from 1957 to 1958, and it's chambered in .22 long rifle, and it's just a cool little gun. They're kind of hard to find. There were a couple different finishes for it. The really hard to find one is the nickel finish. I think there were only like 500 of those made, and there were only about 13,500 total Whitney pistols ever made. When he first started producing it, he was one of the first people to ever make an aluminum cast-framed gun. Now it's pretty common in the industry, so he's kind of an innovator in that. What really led to its demise was he didn't really have very good marketing techniques for this gun, and right around the same time, another gun that most people would really know came out and hit the market for, I think it was like $2 cheaper, was the Ruger Mark I. And, you know, $2 might not seem a lot, but back in the late 50s, $2 probably equated to more like a $50 difference, something in that area. So, and even then you might not think it's too much, but even look at it now, people will buy a gun just because it's a little bit cheaper, even if they'd rather have a different one, if it functions the same. But anyway, back to the pistol. It's a single action pistol. It has a very strange little hammer, which is right here, that can be cocked like that if it was already loaded. And the way you would chamber around is you have a charging handle, not unlike something of an AR-15 style type, where you just pull it back, and it's got like a long tube in here. If I wanted to disassemble it, which I don't really want to right now, you could see it's just all pretty much one tubular design going into the barrel. You actually disassemble it through pushing in this little retaining pin and untwisting the cap here. It has a heel catch mag release like a lot of .22 pistols of that time period. It's a 10-shot magazine, and most .22 pistols you have like a little button that you can kind of press down and hold to push it down. This one was actually made to where you're supposed to take like an empty shell casing, put it in there, pull it down. And another cool thing about this one is it actually has Wolverine on it. It was something like after their first year of production, they weren't allowed to put Wolverine on there. They weren't allowed to call it that because there was another company that had the name Wolverine. So they had to change the name to Lightning, and they no longer had Wolverine on them. So they were the Whitney Lightning after about the first year of production. It has a manual safety on it that is actually like the opposite of a 1911. Down is safe and up is fire. You can see when it's on safe, it does not fire. And the sights are kind of, you know, a little bit different. They have a pretty decent sight picture on there, but it's like a little, almost like a little piece of sheet metal, it almost looks like, that's just kind of folded over on it. So the grips are plastic. They had this style of this coloration for them. There was also a white coloration that mainly came on the nickel version, kind of like how this Smith is. It's you know, had the nickel finish with white grips on them. Really stood out on it. It was really cool also for that. But anyway, we're not talking about that Smith. We're talking about the Whitney. It's, I think, right around a 23-ounce gun. I don't know. I've never weighed it. I'm just going off of what I've heard other people say. The trigger on it, it's actually a pretty nice, crisp trigger let off. There is some take-up on it, which you can see right there. Take off the safety. It has, you know, a little bit of take-up on it. Just a little bit. And it just has a nice, crisp break. And it actually is very fast firing. That was one of their marketing ploys, that you could empty the 10-round magazine in like less than a second or something like that. And it's very Art Deco-y looking. It's got very streamlined things going for it. It looks like something out of like Star Trek or Star Wars, something you'd see in one of those movies. And I believe it actually was in, somebody made some movie, it was probably some low budget movie, where they actually used this for their guns. They went out and found people that owned them and just put it in there. I don't know why, but I have no idea what the movie was, but to give you an idea of the size of it, it's not like most .22 pistols that you get now that are smaller and everything. It's actually a full-size gun, but for being a full-size gun, it's still light. Just to give you a size on it, we have a full-sized 5-inch barreled 1911, and put them side by side, and you can see they're practically the same size. But I can tell you that it is a whole lot lighter. It's by no means a really light gun, especially compared to a lot of other .22s, and even at that time. It's not a super light gun, but it is light because it's aluminum instead of steel. So this gun is almost like, has a cult following behind it. It's a really cool little gun, and you see them pop up every once in a while. I found this in like a little gun shop next to me. Some guy just came and sold it off because he didn't want it anymore, I guess. But one of the hardest things would be is finding a holster for it. Mine actually came with a holster, but it wasn't a holster for this gun particularly, but it was this old Western style holster that the guy was using for it, and it actually fits in there really nice, really snug, holds it in there, at least it did. But you know, it's a nice, nice fit for it, kind of goes with it. But cool gun. If you can find one, I'd say go ahead. Olympic Arms does make a gun, Whitney Wolverine, that's a polymer, almost completely polymer gun. But I've heard there's reliability issues with it, and I've never had a reliability issue with this, no matter what I've shot out of it. So if you can afford it, get one of these. If you can't find one, I guess the other version would do, but just cool little gun, wanted to show you guys. Almost looks like it should be shooting lasers, not .22 caliber.